One of the statements you'll often hear in boating is there's no brakes on a boat. Now, of course, you could throw that vessel into reverse and it'll slow her down and maybe even bring her to a stop, but it's not quite the same as hitting the brakes on a car. So sometimes boaters will find themselves in bad situations and, well, wind up hitting things kind of like we see here, and just like some of the things we're going to witness in this week's episode of Boneheaded Boaters of the Week. Now, of course, that always brings up the golden rule, and the golden rule of boating is never approach anything any faster than you're willing to hit it, because you're bound to hit something eventually in boating. I mean, only if there were signs warning you needed to pay attention. Now, of course, the most common place we hear the golden rule being mentioned is going to be around the boat dock, because it is one of the more key spots. You want to make sure you approach things slowly and cautiously, as things can definitely get out of hand pretty quickly down at the boat ramp. Now, I definitely understand using throttle control to approach things slowly, but using trim control to approach things slowly is not necessarily the best plan. And I have to wonder if this massive anchor that we see in the bow of this boat's slowing them down at all as well, but definitely an object I wouldn't want to wind up running into. Speaking of being anchored down, nothing like anchoring yourself down by towing off-road with no tires while dragging the trailer. I mean, every part of this is wrong, but I guess it's better than dragging it down the concrete road. Maybe they were thinking they were doing the right thing. Now, one way to slow things down in your boating life is not have a trailer, but that won't stop everybody out there. Some boaters, even without having a trailer, will find a way to get the job done. Now, what's interesting here is when I first saw this contraption, I thought he was going to pedal it down, but apparently he's converted it to electric and, well, it gets to do all the work for him. You might think this might be a little dangerous going down the road, but let's be honest, even driving a regular vehicle down the road towing a boat doesn't always end up the best. I mean, you still got to pay attention to what's going on, because you never know when things are going to go wrong, that boat's going to come right off the bat. Now, of course, as we started the discussion with earlier, boats don't have brakes. Now, of course, in this situation, even if the boat had brakes, it wasn't going to help much, but the car has brakes, and sometimes, even when the car has brakes on the road, it won't help a ton. Now, of course, it could just be me and the way I'm looking at this, but that tire almost doesn't even look like it's touching the ground. Let me know if I'm wrong in the comments. Now, since boats don't have brakes, one way they have to defend themselves is going to be by putting fenders out. But if you're going to go out there and goose it around the boat ramp, the fenders probably aren't going to help a ton when you start smacking everything along the way. This is why the golden rule is so important, especially around the docks, of never approaching anything any faster than you're willing to hit it. And one key thing that I often think gets forgotten by boaters is when you're on the dock. For example, a situation like this, somebody has the boat, you're at the dock, why is the motor even on? At this point in time, all this captain had to do was kill the engine, leave it alone, and let these guys hold the boat and things would have been fine, but Cap apparently is just not very happy with his parking job or his parking spot and decides he must try a little harder to get this boat exactly where he wants it and how he wants it, instead of just letting the crew on the dock go ahead and walk this thing over. Now, there are other times where throttle might be important, kind of like if you get caught in the surf, you better find a way to throttle yourself out. If you don't have any throttle, well, you're probably going to wind up in the drain. Now, I guess another important part of boating is knowing an exit strategy. If you get yourself in a situation, always look for that out, kind of like this guy did, but if you take his out, hopefully you're wearing a life jacket. Now, of course, one thing you definitely got to watch out for in boating is going to be stuff that is just below the surface. That's one of the big problems with boating compared to driving a car. Sometimes there are things there that we just can't see, and they can pop out unexpectedly and give us a nice little surprise. So you always got to be diligent about where you're at, your depths, and make sure that you're doing well, or you may find the brakes are put on for you. Again, we mentioned boats don't have brakes, but of course, if you wind up hitting land, that's about the same as applying the brakes, because it's probably going to bring you to a stop, unless you find a way to just power on through like this crew does. And of course, speaking of powering on through, there are times where throttle's going to be important and you're going to have to power on through, kind of like this situation. Now, my guess here is that our guy has procrastinated. He thought he would have one more good weekend of boating before the winter struck, and then all of a sudden the winter came. And then he thought, well, I'll hold off, we'll get another thaw, and then the thaw never came, and realized he better get it out before it's too late. Now, I know you Florida boys are thinking, well, we don't worry about the winter, we don't have to deal with that here, but yes, you do. As As things start getting a little colder, all of a sudden you're going to find some other things are looking for a little warmth that your boat may offer. So even in Florida, sure, you don't deal with the ice and the snow, but you've got your own set of problems you have to worry about as it starts getting colder, like the iguanas falling from the trees and looking for somewhere else to go play. And then of course you always got to worry about that boat maintenance in the winter. Got to stay on top of it and make sure everything looks good at all times. If not, you may come back to the boat and find there's some problems. Now, the look on this guy's face is absolutely priceless as he looks back at whoever's talking to him like, what do I do, bro? Well, of course, you find a drain plug and try and plug that thing up. Now, of course, when you try and get back out after the winter, you always got to remember to go ahead and move that wrap. If not, you may find as you tow down the road, you may look like a sparkly Christmas present as things start to come apart at the seams as you're moving down the road. I'll openly admit, I did this once myself. Not the prettiest sight. Fortunately, nothing came off, but still, it was a mess trying to get this back off the boat as things started to rip. So whatever you do, take that off before you get there. And then, of course, as things start to warm back up, people forget things. They forget the common courtesy rules of boating and being out there on the water, and then some people, well, they just want to be jerks altogether, kind of like our guy here, who has passed this crew several times. They've warned him that they got lines in the water, but my man just doesn't seem to care and keeps messing with the fishermen anyway.
In on his boat. Yep, right there, getting that number. Too close to people fishing. I will be handing this over. Like, ridiculous. Oh, wow. You dumb? You are one dumbass, dude. Look at this idiot. Right over my damn line. This is the third time I've warned you. You could have went the other way, you idiot.
Now, let me know in the comments your thoughts on this one. Who's really in the wrong? I mean, our guy's fishing from a fixed pier. My man's on the boat. To my knowledge, they both have equal rights to the water. I don't really know who's at fault there, but I'm sure you guys do. Let me know in the comments. And then, of course, one of the big things that people will forget about once they put their boat away for the winter is going to make sure when they pull it back out for the summer that they've got the most important part, which is going to be that drain plug. Because if you get out there on the water the first time you launch it and you don't have that drain plug, a couple things are happening. One, you're either turning around to go back and get it. Two, you're going to forget to put it in and launch anyway and may wind up in a spot like this. Or three, well, that just means you didn't subscribe to the channel and we stole it during the off season. Thanks for watching, crew. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Boneheaded Boaters of the Week. If you ever see anything crazy happening out on your waterways, be sure to hit us up at Broncos Guru on Facebook or Instagram and let us know when you might see your stories over here. Just like Bree Lynn, Captain Ozzy, Justin B561, Merson, Ricky RK, and Adam Coolidge did this week. And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and drop an anchor on the subscribe button here. If not, we're coming to steal your drain plug.